If you are watching the mainstream networks tonight, you are being fed a fundamentally flawed narrative. The talking heads are celebrating. They are looking at the United States Navy's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. They are looking at the seized Iranian vessels, and they are telling you that Washington has finally brought Tehran to its knees. They are reporting that Iran has agreed to surrender its ultimate bargaining chip, 460 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60% purity. On paper, it looks like an American triumph, but in the shadow world of elite geopolitics, what is actually unfolding is a catastrophic structural failure for Western hegemony. Let's strip away the propaganda and look at the raw mechanics of this deal. We are talking about 460 kilograms of near-weapons-grade nuclear material. To understand the gravity of this, you must understand the math of enrichment. 60% purity is not a civilian energy grade. It is a threshold. The jump from 60% to the 90% required for a nuclear warhead is not a matter of years or even months. It is a matter of weeks. In the intelligence community, we call this being a screwdriver turn away. Iran effectively holds enough fissile material for 11 nuclear warheads. America went to war to neutralize this exact threat. They bombed Iranian infrastructure, they crippled global supply chains, and they risked a global economic depression to force Tehran to give this material up. So, Iran says, fine, we will give it up. But here is the critical pivot that the media is missing. Who catches it? On the surface, the answer should be obvious. The United States demanded it, so the United States should take custody of it, right? Wrong. That is a geopolitical impossibility, and Tehran knows it. From the Iranian perspective, handing 460 kilograms of highly enriched uranium to Washington is not a diplomatic concession. It is an act of total national surrender. It is political suicide for the remnants of the Iranian leadership. But more importantly, there is zero trust. In 2018, Washington unilaterally tore up the JEPO nuclear agreement. Why on earth would Tehran surrender its ultimate strategic deterrent to an adversary that has proven it will violate treaties and drop bombs simultaneously? Furthermore, Washington itself is structurally incapable of receiving this material. Imagine the domestic legal and political nightmare of the U.S. government accepting 11 warheads worth of Iranian uranium. Congress would erupt. Non-proliferation frameworks would short-circuit. It is an administrative impossibility under the fog of an active conflict. And this is where the trap snaps shut, because Iran isn't giving the uranium to America. They are giving it to Vladimir Putin. This is an absolute masterstroke of asymmetric statecraft. Russia is stepping in as the responsible third-party custodian. Rosatom, the Russian state nuclear corporation, already has the infrastructure, the technicians, and the regulatory cover inside Iran to facilitate this transfer cleanly. But look at what this actually achieves. Moscow, which entered this US-Iran conflict as a supportive bystander, is about to exit as the indispensable architect of Middle Eastern security. No future negotiations, no verification protocols, no regional peace frameworks can proceed without Vladimir Putin's explicit approval. He is buying the ultimate strategic leverage over both Washington and Tehran, and he is doing it without firing a single bullet. Iran gets to save face domestically by framing this as a strategic transfer to an allied partner rather than a surrender to an enemy, and the United States. The United States spent billions of dollars, deployed 10% of its naval capacity, and triggered a global energy crisis, only to outsource the Iranian nuclear threat to its greatest geopolitical rival. Now, if you think this disaster ends in the Middle East, you are deeply miscalculating the interconnected nature of the global chessboard. The true casualty of this 460 kilogram transfer isn't just American leverage in the Persian Gulf. It is the absolute collapse of the American nuclear umbrella in the Pacific. I want you to pivot your attention from the Strait of Hormuz to East Asia. While Washington has been entirely consumed by this blockade, our allies in the Indo-Pacific have been quietly doing the math, and the equation they are looking at is terrifying. They are watching Iran survive a direct kinetic American onslaught. They are watching Tehran emerge from a massive bombing campaign and a suffocating naval blockade with its regime intact, its scientific knowledge preserved, and its nuclear material safely stashed in Russia. The lesson being broadcast to the world is not that nuclear ambition is punished. The lesson is that nuclear latency is the ultimate insurance policy. Let's look at South Korea. Right now, as the U.S. diverts missile defense systems away from Seoul to protect its assets in the Middle East, panic is setting in. Elite polling out of the Asan Institute shows a staggering 76% of the South Korean public now supports developing an indigenous nuclear weapons program. Why? Because they no longer believe the United States will risk an apocalyptic war to defend them. If Washington couldn't cleanly disarm Iran, a regional power, how can Seoul trust Washington to protect them from a nuclear-armed North Korea or an increasingly aggressive China? And then there is Japan. The mainstream media won't talk about Japan's capabilities, but Tokyo is the ultimate latent nuclear power. Legally, under international agreements, Japan possesses over 45 tons of weapons-grade plutonium. They possess the advanced ballistic missile technology through their space program. They have the delivery systems. What they lack is the political will to cross the threshold. But that will is eroding by the hour. Intelligence estimates suggest Japan could assemble a functional nuclear device in a matter of months if the order was given. When Tehran successfully outsources its uranium to Moscow, proving that American deterrence is fundamentally hollow, it triggers a chain reaction. It forces Seoul and Tokyo to realize that in a multipolar world, relying on American security guarantees is a fool's errand. They are being pushed into a corner where nuclear proliferation is the only logical survival strategy. And if Japan and South Korea go nuclear? Beijing has already explicitly stated that it views the nuclearization of its neighbors as an existential provocation. We are looking at the rapid unraveling of the Global Non-Proliferation Treaty. We are looking at a hyper-militarized East Asia where 6 or 7 different nations hold the keys to Armageddon. This is what they aren't telling you. The war in the Middle East wasn't just about oil, and it wasn't just about the Strait of Hormuz. It was a stress test of American unipolarity, and the system is breaking. The 460 kilograms of uranium leaving Iran isn't a peace deal. It is the starting gun for the most volatile, unpredictable arms race of the 21st century.